The process for improving building energy codes is a continuous cycle. It can be summarized as a 4-step cycle paired with a 4-part governance structure. The first step is to plan and develop. This is the step where we plan and develop a code. Whether it is a first-time code or an update to a previous code, we set the goals and develop a framework to advance energy efficiency in buildings based on data evaluation and analysis. In this step, from a governance perspective, it is important to identify a technical lead and a policy lead. It's also essential to identify the range of stakeholders that need to be involved and who can support the development process. In many cases, the technical lead may be a lab or research organization, while the policy lead is often the government body responsible for building codes. The final result of the development process should be an enforceable, well-written model code that can be adopted by local or implementing jurisdictions. The second step is adoption and adaptation. Most often, building codes must be adopted at state or local level to be binding. In this step, the implementing jurisdiction might directly adopt the model code that was developed in Step 1, or it might adapt it to meet local needs, to increase the level of efficiency, or to otherwise improve the code. In this step, from a governance perspective, the local jurisdiction that has to enforce the code often has the lead role. At the same time, the technical and policy leads from Step 1 should be used for support throughout the adoption process. The final result of the adoption process is a legally binding document that's ready for enforcement. The third step is enforcement and certification. Here, the code is fully implemented with a verification that buildings are complying with the code. In some cases, certification of compliance is provided. In this step, from a governance perspective, the local jurisdiction leads enforcement, but in many cases, independent third-party organizations, such as auditors or raters, can be used to conduct the verification of compliance and report back to the implementing jurisdiction. The final result of the enforcement process should be buildings that have complied with or surpassed the efficiency requirements of the code. The fourth and final step is to review and update. This is a critical step that's anchored by evaluation of existing codes and buildings. This step is turned into action by setting a goal to improve the code and move back to the plan and develop cycle for continuous improvement. In this step, from a governance perspective, it is important to have a strong lead, often the policy lead from Step 1, to manage the overall process and bring in the right support and stakeholders. With this in mind, you can see that Steps 4 and 1 on the left are directly linked as the steps where codes are assessed, developed, and improved. These processes are often led by the national government. Steps 2 and 3, on the other hand, focus on adoption and implementation of the code, which often falls to the local or implementing jurisdiction.